What is going on, everybody? It is Friday, May the 27th, and that means it's time for my news radar. And let's start this show off with something that we've kind of speculated about in recent memory, and now it is actually officially fully coming. If you don't know, in Windows 11, there's a brand new feature where you have this thing called the widget bar. And if I go over here to this other monitor, you can see down here in the bottom left corner, it says rain coming. And if I hover over it or if I click on it, you do get a bar that pops out that shows you various widgets. Now you can see my widgets are not really doing anything. It's not really something that I ever use because the widgets that are on here are not ones that I really care about. There are not a great selection of possible widgets there for you to use. This is pretty much it. And that's honestly a little bit disappointing, kind of lackluster, and kind of just true to form for a lot of these things from Microsoft. You know, look at the Microsoft Store. It's beginning to improve quite a bit now because they're opening the floodgates for people to submit applications to the Microsoft Store that aren't based on a particular UWP or whatever it may have been at that moment. Now they're allowing Win32 apps and other things to be in the store. That's opening things up, and it is improving a lot. But this has been a problem for Microsoft with their store, with their Windows Phone store. Just not enough stuff in there because it's too closed off. And that's funny because Windows is meant to be open. That's kind of the point, is that you can make all these different programs. You can get programs from here, there, everywhere. But then when it comes to Microsoft's official stuff, they kind of close things down and people wind up just not using them. But hopefully that's not going to be the fate of the widget bar. Hopefully that's going to be changing. So widget panel, I think, is the actual name. This article here, written by Zach Bowden on Windows Central, talks about this. Windows 11's widgets panel will open its doors to third-party developers later this year. They put out a little video here where they talked about, and this is, I guess there's nothing really interesting in this, but this gentleman here talks about how they're going to be opening up this widget panel to third parties. So if you make a program for Windows, you're theoretically going to be able to, hopefully relatively easily, generate a widget for this panel. So that might help a little bit. I still think that there is a massive problem with the widget panel, and it's kind of twofold. Widgets make a ton of sense on your phone, right? On a phone, it makes sense because you're on your launcher quite a bit. And that's where the widgets are, right? I've got a widget here that shows me photos of my dogs and my wife, and that's quite nice. I've got a widget here that shows me the time, the date, and what day of the week it is. And when I click on it, it's going to open up my calendar, which is nothing on for this particular day, but you see what I mean. And then over here on my sidebar, there's also several more widgets. And I see these things all the time because on a phone, you're on your launcher, your desktop quite a bit. On a computer, this is very different, and it's important because where the widgets live on your phone is a place that you're already going, a place that you're just going to naturally see. Where the widgets live on your computer is tucked away on a bar that you, if you're anything like me, you just totally forget exists all the time. And now you could go back in time to older versions of Windows that would allow you to place something similar to these widgets directly on your desktop, right? Actually on the desktop, not tucked away behind a bar. But there's another problem there for me. How often am I sitting here at my computer and I've got my main monitor and I've got an empty monitor? How often do I ever see my wallpaper on my computer? It's really, really infrequently. There's always just stuff pulled up. Just sits this way. You know, the Phone Link app is almost always either Phone Link app or Discord on this screen over here. Almost always a web browser or something else going on. I almost never see my desktop. So for me, this is great. The third-party widgets are coming, but there's a problem. People want to say, widgets make sense on your phone. They make sense on your tablet. Why wouldn't they make sense on your desktop? Well, because we don't use our desktop the same way that we use phones. They're not the same thing. We don't see our home screen nearly as much. On your phone, anytime you want to do anything, you have to go home to get to your apps. You're in an app, you swipe up to go home, there's your launcher, there are your widgets. You naturally do that. You don't have to minimize anything on your computer to get to your other apps. You just hit your start button. So, look, maybe the widgets need to be in the start menu. maybe, just maybe, live tiles made sense. Let me know what you think in the comments. Moving on to another story which came out of Microsoft's Build 2022. This is a question that I get asked all the time. I've talked about Android apps on your desktop, on Windows 11, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be a desktop. It could be like a tablet that runs Windows 11. This is totally irrelevant to the news story, but for some reason I feel like I needed to correct that because that's just how my brain unfortunately works. People ask me all the time, Shane, when are these apps coming to other markets? If you're not in America, you're not really able to take advantage of these Android apps, whether or not they're good or useful. Totally different discussion. I've kind of flip-flopped on this a few times, but if you're not in America, you really just haven't been able to use them. But here is another article here from Windows Central. Zach Bowden, once again, Android apps support Windows 11 is coming to more markets later on this year. And if we scroll down here past this lovely ad to get rid of my car insurance, that's fantastic. The markets that are going to be expanded to: United Kingdom, Germany, France, Italy, and Japan. Strangely enough, America's hat, Canada, or perhaps we are Canada's pants. It's hard to say. Who makes up these rules? I don't know. They're not on the list. Very odd that it's only these countries being expanded into, but I guess we should be happy for some expansion where we can get it, because the more people that can test this, the more things can be improved, the more feedback can be given. And of course, Windows 11's version of Android got a pretty big update the other day as well. This is coming from the Microsoft Windows.com blog. Update to Windows Subsystem for Android on Windows 11. This is actually a really big update. So the first thing is they updated it to Android 12.1, which is weird because there is no such thing as Android 12.1. That is Android 12L. I don't know why they're calling it 0.1. No clue why they would do this, but that's what they're calling it, whatever. So strangely enough, the Android you can run on your Windows device is running Android 12L. The Android you can run on your Surface Duo is Android 11. Kind of strange, but it is what it is. So that's a big update. It just basically means that the software is quite modern. It is the current version of Android that is publicly released. Advanced networking is a pretty big added feature because it's going to allow you to cast things like that. So you can read the description there yourself. But let's say you pull up an app that can cast in Android in Windows 11. That cast button now knows what network you're on, so you can cast things like it's a proper Android device. That is pretty cool. The Settings app is getting a redesign. There are big improvements to the Windows integration. So prior, we did not have the little taskbar icons that show what apps are using your microphone, location, other system services. Now that's going to be there. Android Toast notifications are going to be reflected as Windows notification. The window title of an Android app will now reflect the Android activity title. And apparently now apps will not be restarted when your device comes out of a standby, but will now just resume where they left off. So these are all really good things. If there's particular Android apps that you just like to leave running all the time for whatever reason, before, when you went into standby and came out, they'd have to literally reload that app. Now they can just continue running like an Android app on an Android phone is able to already do. So this is really good. Improvements to the camera in Android apps. So a lot of these, camera apps were a little bit screwy. Okay, it's like orientations, weird things with the camera. So it would be able to maybe see the camera on your computer, but it wouldn't be able to use it very well. That is apparently going to be fixed and improved. Improved scroll wheel support. I've talked about this before with streaming apps from my phone via the phone link app. The scroll wheel would kind of mimic the pinch in and out to zoom. That was not a thing before. That stuff is coming now. So these are all really good improvements. And then there's several more here that I'll leave on screen while I talk for a minute. It's still unclear to me what the use case is for these applications. I was someone that was excited for it, but I'm also a tinkerer. I'm also someone that just likes weird things, and running an Android app on your Windows computer is a weird thing. So of course I was going to be in favor of it. But in real life, real world, day-to-day usage, I still find myself choosing to stream apps from my phone link app, from my Surface Duo, to my computer instead. And I don't do this super duper often, but I do it occasionally. If I'm here at my computer, there's something I need to do on my phone, rather than grabbing my phone off of its little stand here, waking up and doing it, I will just simply reach over with my finger, touch the fingerprint scanner to turn on my phone. The phone link app is almost always just running on the other monitor over here as it is. Wrong screen. I can just come over here, select an app, do whatever I need to do, and I'm done. And that seems to me to be easier for several reasons. The biggest of which is that I'm already logged in. Everything's just already there on that device. I'm not having to like have separate instances of an application. Nevertheless, big improvements, good stuff coming for Android on Windows 11. And unfortunately, we're going to end today's episode with some concerning news out of Microsoft. So this original report is from Business Insider, but they are behind a great big nasty paywall. So we're going to be reading instead from on Microsoft. Toxic management culture alive and well at Microsoft, says damning Business Insider report. On Microsoft, forgive me for briefly getting rid of your advertisements to make a better experience here for the viewer. A new report published today at Business Insider details widespread pattern of executive misconduct years after the new CEO Satya Nadella vowed to overhaul the company's toxic culture. We have some quotes here from the Business Insider report, but basically, the first bit here is quite messed up. Quite a crazy thing for someone to think is okay. Alex Kipman, who is the head of the HoloLens division, maybe you would call it, is the first person called out here. Apparently, in some setting, Kipman was demoing HoloLens, mixed reality stuff, for a group of people. And as you can read here in the video that filled the screen, so the other people, he had the HoloLens on, he's demoing, but they can see what he's seeing on another monitor. In the video that filled the screen, several young women in skimpy clothing frolicked on a bed. An overly sexualized pillow fight ensued. Someone in the room described it as, well, I'm just going to let you read it. I don't want to get demonetized here, right? So you can read that yourself, how it was described. And for some reason, he felt like, allegedly, this was something that was okay to do publicly in front of other people, who some of which apparently walked out of the room. People were confused. People were like, what on earth is happening? And I don't know the details on these, but apparently there have been other complaints of inappropriate touching and comments from Kipman. Other people like Terry Meyerson have had complaints of abusive and belittling behavior. I'm going to leave this on screen for a moment if you want to read it. Also, obviously, a link in the description to the full article, because there's more here to be read, more quotes, and then this has a link to the Business Insider report if you have happened to be a subscriber to Business Insider. At any rate, these are very, very concerning. And I think it speaks to, allegedly, speaks to this pervasive culture that we see in a lot of industries that are sort of ran by men. And I don't want this to come across as being too soapboxy, but it's gross to me when you hear allegations of men in power who think they can just do whatever they want. And this runs the gamut from this sort of thing, a belittling comment, just being an overall dick to people, thinking you can just talk to people however you want. Sexual things like this, I can do whatever I want. Hey, I'm in charge of this shit. I can do whatever I want to do. It is deeply, deeply concerning. It's something that I don't think is, sadly, not unique to Microsoft. There have been allegations. Pick a big company, and there's probably been allegations of this. Okay, so before I was here doing this in my room in my house, I've worked for several different companies. And the companies I've worked for in the buildings I've worked in, literally almost every single one of them have had that guy in a position of power who is creepy to the women around him. That's as far as I'm going to go. I hope that this is something that over time will continue to improve. And I hope that this is something that Microsoft is taking very, very seriously, because it's just not a good look. It's just not, you don't want these reports being written for the PR, obviously. That's like the most cynical reason you don't want this stuff happening. But you shouldn't want this happening because it sucks for the people that work for you. People should be able to go to work without fear that some creep is going to act like an asshole to them, or that they're going to make inappropriate touches and things like this, or literally demo an item in a way that is extremely inappropriate. This is messed up stuff. They need to fix this. They need to get in front of this, and they need to do something about it. And maybe some people need to not be working for Microsoft anymore. Allegedly, Guys, thanks for watching. An extra big thanks to the YouTube members of this channel whose names should be scrolling across the screen right now. You make the world go around. Thanks so much, guys. Hit the subscribe button on your way out. I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.